And you've talked about this story a million times, but I just want to talk about the time that you were in Beckley and there was a really big situation that ended up in, I think, litigation.
Yeah, well, you're talking about the Battle of Beckley in 1987. That was Crockett. That wasn't Smoky Mountain. Yeah, well, I already had a good view of Beckley, but in 87, real briefly, it was the Midnight and Rock and Roll Express. We were the main event of the night, so it was the last match. So that's generally when somebody acts up, because if you get kicked out, you've seen everything, right? And of course, there was some, dispute in the decision, but the Rock and Roll somehow got the victory. And when they roll out of the ring, all of the security goes with the Rock and Roll and takes them back to the locker room. And we didn't have cops there. It was uniformed security, like rent a security. There wasn't, in most places, especially in Crockett Promotions back then, we had legitimate uniformed city police officers. This was not the case. So they all go and leave us. So we're looking around, and the people, it is sold out. The building is sold out. That's not wrestler exaggeration. That's in the fucking depositions. And we can't get out of the ring because the people have surrounded the ring. So we're standing there waiting for somebody to come get us some type of security. And all of a sudden, I look around, and Stan at the same time screams, "Look out!" And there is this giant wooden aisle marker about 3 feet high, shaped like an arrow, section C, flying into the ring. And I caught out of the corner of my eye an old man with his hand in the air, looked like he had just launched something, screaming with a very disturbed look on his face. And Stan saw the same thing, and Stan was closer. He was on that side. When the marker came in, hit Bobby Eaton in the side of the head and scraped all the skin off of him, went down his neck, right? And Stan dives out. And now I thought, oh shit, now Stan has dove out there in the middle of Beckley, West Virginia with no cops and in swimming trunks and is about to get knifed. And I jump out because at least I've got the racket, but Stan was quicker than a hiccup. He'd gone over and drilled that old man right in the face, knocked him over 2 rows of chairs, and then run back up to me, and we get back in the ring. And then finally the security comes and we get out of there. And there's a whole big hoopla. And we press charges on the gentleman who did that very thing. And I gave him some choice comments about his parentage and ancestry and personal habits.
Black lung MFer was the phrase the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals focused on.
I'll say you black lung motherfucker.
That's funny to those of us from West Virginia and Eastern Kentucky who know what that means, folks.
Yes, folks. If you're from outside the area, look it up. But anyway, so the bone of contention came later when not only did the man claim that he was not the one who threw it, but some people in the crowd began blaming it on adolescents who were acting up right behind the guy. And the point is, they gave depositions. Nobody that was deposed could agree on the number of matches on the card. That ranged from 5 to 12. Nobody could agree on the crowd. Nobody could agree on where the marker hit Bobby or whether the marker hit Bobby or who hit Stan or who threw it. And Stephen, now you can jump in on this. The only major decision that came out of this, we paid a little bit of money, me and the Midnight Express, for a lawyer because Crockett was originally paying for our lawyer and then he went out of business before the case was settled. So we paid a little bit of money for the attorney, but we didn't pay any money out of our pocket for the incident because the biggest bone of contention came, Stephen, if I'm correct, that Crockett Promotions and or the Raleigh County Armory, which was a city-owned facility, had hired a security company who were not licensed, bonded, or trained, and had basically been put together by some yahoo and watched some VHS tapes on Securifying and thought that made them like Jethro Bodine was going to be a double knot spy from watching the James Bond movie. And they thought that qualified them. And that was what led Crockett's insurance company to cancel before it bankrupted all of us, especially when the guy went to the Mayo Clinic. Is that right, Stephen?
It is. And not only that, there weren't even enough. Not only were they unprofessional security guards, there weren't even enough of the unprofessionals.
Yeah, there were 6,000 people and like 8 of these fucking guys.
Right.
And 2 of them were out the parking lot.
The Supreme Court focused on too. But just the joy, I will tell you this, Jimmy, I've told you this many times, including at the 2004 Fan Fest when I met you and we talked about that case. Lawyers love citing to the case of Roy and Ruby Massey v. Jim Crockett Promotions et al. Just for the sheer hell of it, to be able to get to put Jim Crockett Promotions in our legal briefs.
Well, and also the thing is, the way that I kind of skirted, because apparently, and Stephen, again, you know more about this than I do, but the way it was explained to me at the time, 30 years ago or whatever, was that I said, how did I get in this suit? I didn't hit anybody. I didn't press charges on anybody. Well, you cussed the guy out. And well, what the fuck? How could he sue me for cussing him out? There was a statute on vulgar and or inflammatory language, fighting words. And the thing that kind of got me out of that was because everybody agreed that I had been very violently angry to the guy, and everybody agreed that I'd only spoken for about 30 seconds, but every single one of the witnesses quoted something different and vulgar that I said, and it was like, well, nobody could possibly say all those horrible things in 30 seconds, so that somebody must be lying.
That's exactly right. And my law school professor said, "No, could he say that many cuss words in that short a time?" I said, "I believe he can, Professor Katie."
And then also, we were going to do a T-shirt of Black Lung Motherfucker, but hey, Steve,
the proceeds going to the United Mine Workers of America, ladies and gentlemen.
But if you could, if go ahead and trademark that for me, get that over to Akers and Gwynn, and we'll trademark that Black Lung Motherfucker just in case we need it in the future.
There you go.
But that was so the adjudication of the case was that the insurance company paid Roy, because Roy Massey sued not only for all these, he had apparently sued, he was an ex-coal miner, and he had sued for like a 2% disability in his finger and 3% disability in his toe, and he was about 36% disabled already before Stan hit him with that fucking beautiful right cross and broke his orbital socket, knocked his eye about a quarter of an inch back into his head farther than what it was supposed to be, one shot. And he also sued on behalf of his wife for lack of consort with his wife. I said, he went blind and he can't have sex with his wife? I said, that probably, knowing the way she looks, ought to have made it easier.
And there, ladies and gentlemen, is why I would be the consigliere of the cult of Cornette for free. Even if it didn't pay anything, I'd do it just to hear stuff like that in court.
But fortunately, you get plenty of work off of me, Stephen.
That's exactly right.
I'll tell you what, and I knew people always told me all my life, you're either going to keep attorneys or therapists in business for a long time.
For sure, and you have definitely kept Stephen P. New in business. I think between the two of us, we keep him very, very busy.